think research is all about how you use it, really. So I think if you sit in a research group and take down what the random gathering are saying about your work and then apply that very literally. But if you just apply that directly without thinking about it to your work, then you will certainly end up with wallpaper, because you'll just knock off anything that kind of prompts a discussion. But I think if you interpret it, and if you think, okay, so that if you ask the right questions in research, if you ask, does this ad or this packaging or whatever you're researching, does it make you more interested in the product than you were before you saw it? Then that's a kind of a different question to, does this ad or packaging tell you everything you need to know and make you want to go out and buy the product immediately? I think if you ask the right questions of research, then you will use it more intelligently. So I think certainly research in the wrong hands, asking the wrong questions and using the answers in the wrong way is very dangerous. I mean, I think it's a mixture. I think it's cautiousness, and I think there are some good excuses, and then after a while you just have to stop looking for excuses. And like a good excuse is the scale of the market. It's very hard for advertisers to take risks, if you want to put it that way. Like we work with Mars around Europe on all of their in-store stuff, and we've worked in the past with big marketers in the US as well, and it's so different because, like in the US, for example, we used to work with Budweiser, and whereas in Ireland you might make one TV campaign every 2 years, in the US they would make maybe 80 or 90 campaigns every 6 months. And so what you do is you don't worry too much about research. You just make stuff, and if it works, you upweight it. If it doesn't work, you pull it, and it just works out. And then it's research in the real world as well. So you're kind of taking all of the mad factors that affect a research group of 6 or 8 people out of the equation. So I think the fact that in Ireland it's much harder to do that means that people are very cautious, and I think caution is probably the main enemy of creativity. I think that point that I was making at the end about the importance of remembering that nobody cares is maybe the key to that, because I think in the same way that it can be difficult for me to sell stuff to you, I know that you then face exactly the same challenges, except probably put in even blunter terms when you're selling that stuff on. And I think what's really important to remind people is that the stuff that's in the creative work, which looks like it's kind of just there for entertainment value, and what's that about? That's so important in terms of making the work notice, making it cut through. And there is an element of, I suppose, perceived risk in terms of making work zany, and I suppose there's a small risk there, but if you make work which is bland, there's no uncertainty at all. It'll just fade into the porridge of bland work and just become, absolute wallpapery porridge, mixing things up. Right. Well then, no, I think it probably comes back to, no, it's a really fair question. I think it comes back to how ambitious people are for the return on investment. If you want stuff which hits the kind of scores that, like the work that we showed there, if you want that kind of stuff, then bland work isn't going to do it. But if you want stuff that gives you a modest return on investment, that kind of washes its face and maybe generates a bit more than you've invested in it, then of course work which is kind of moderately inventive is going to be successful. So it kind of depends on the ambition.